everybody. Welcome to the Abroaders Travel Podcast, your weekly meetup with thousands of entrepreneurs, hustlers, creators, nomads, ninjas, wanderers, and world changers, all seeking to build the skills and connections to live a life without borders. If you want to learn more about what we do or download our entire podcast archive, check out the website, abroaders.com. Happy Wednesday morning, and welcome to another episode of the Abroaders Podcast. This is 148. And today is Wednesday, the 9th of November. How's it going, AJ?
It's going really well, man. It's exciting times for us because we've actually got the team together. Both Janelle and George are here in Medellin, so it's pretty cool, actually. It's the first time I met Janelle face-to-face.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And, I spent a lot of time with George in Barcelona, but it's good to reunite again. And George had never met Janelle, so there's a lot of team building.
Yeah, this is great. So for those of you who don't know, Janelle is our booking guru. She is responsible for literally millions of dollars in savings over the last year for Abroaders customers. So she does all the bookings when folks request for us to do a concierge booking. We do all the work to find flights. And she also is in charge of basically helping everybody as much as we can with advice and just sort of pointing you in the right direction to book your own trip. So it's been really cool to get her in the same room with AJ. As you said, you never met her.
Yeah.
And also, just really good to be back in the same place with George. We've had a lot of growth with the Abroaders app. We are well on our way to 2,000 users now, and so we're getting to that point where it's starting to get interesting, and we're starting to deal with some stuff where it's really helpful to have the guy that's actually writing the code in the same room to be like, okay, this is how I make recommendations. These are the cards we're looking at for people. It's been a super cool week. We've got some good information to share today. We're going to cover news and updates. We got a couple of promos that are definitely worth taking a look at, and some quick savings opportunities depending on your upcoming travel. And then for the core content today, we're going to talk a little bit more about downgrading cards. And we have talked about annual fee negotiation quite a bit in the past, but this is a question that comes up all the time. When does it make sense to downgrade to a no annual fee card? And what are my options? What are the trade-offs? How does this work? And so I think that this segment is pretty helpful because there's a lot of examples that Janelle and I worked through when we were trying to figure out sort of what are the different scenarios, Amex cards, which cards are the most common that you have to downgrade. So hopefully that'll be helpful, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing feedback and any stories that we've got from folks. I know I've gotten at least an email or two every week about choices like that, about, hey, I've got the Chase Sapphire Preferred and I just got the Reserve, do I want to have both? So if you're in that type of situation, hopefully this will be helpful, and we're going to dive into a bunch of examples of how that can work to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get it kicked off with some of the news and updates. First thing we've got here is getting 5,000 bonus Hilton points when you book through their app. So a couple things to note. You've got to book your stay through the Hilton Honors app, and you also need to pay with a Visa credit card. So if you've got a Visa card, you've got an account through Hilton, and you're going to stay at Hilton. So this runs from November through January 31st. So a pretty easy win if you're going to be staying at a Hilton property. Just book through the app, use a Visa card, and you get your 5,000 points.
That's great. And I've got one to tie into this. This one is very short term, so there's only 3 days, but it's going to include the Wednesday that the podcast airs, and I believe through Thursday. So you've got till tomorrow, I believe. And this is for 40% off Hilton properties in the Asia Pacific region. And I saw that, I was like, oh, this is going to be crap. There's going to be like 3 hotels. And it looks like it's basically all proproperties.
Yeah, there's
Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia.
A lot of properties. It was, I want to say, well over 100 really nice properties. The one thing I read in the comments, I didn't have a chance to confirm this, but one of the guys chiming in on the comments said something around caveat of it excludes mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau.
Okay.
Which pretty much excludes China.
Yeah.
When you get that. So, maybe Taipei, but I did see that there's a lot of good properties in Japan, a lot of good properties if you'd be traveling in Asia.
Definitely.
And I think the big win here would be if you're somebody who's not afraid to spend a little bit of money on a hotel, you can get a really nice place for like a nice hotel price.
Yeah. And 40% off is a big deal. And a lot of them are pretty reasonable. If you look at the one that I was really impressed by recently was the Conrad in Bangkok, where we stayed last year. And the paid rates weren't that ridiculous.
It's like $125 a night.
$120.
And it's a five-star hotel.
And a really, really nice property. The other thing to keep in mind is that the Amex Platinum has Hilton Gold status, which gets you club access, which is a big deal at a lot of these properties that you might be looking at.
Did that get you late checkout as well?
Maybe. I'm honestly not sure because we were kind of in something with
either way, the club access is...
Yeah, depending on the property. So, it definitely varies from Hilton property to Hilton property. But the one we were at, the Conrad Bangkok, is unbelievable. I mean, tons of food, just giant spread. Wine,
booze
beer,
flowing,
lots of good
comfortable
stuff.
Place to hang out.
So certainly worth it, and great if you can make that work with the 40% discount. But again, that's a 3-day sale, so it's kind of a flash sale. You got to make your reservation quickly if you're going to do that.
Yeah, and I want to say you got to commit. I don't think there's a money back guarantee or anything. I think if you're in, you're in. So if you got travel, we actually have quite a few listeners that are based in Asia. I could imagine a few listeners out there saying, why not hop on a cheap, $40 Air Asia flight to go somewhere and stay in a cool property.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, the next thing we've got here is a quick, easy win. It depends if you prefer Marriott points or Starwood points, but if you connect your Twitter, Instagram, and your Facebook account to the Marriott app, they'll give you 1,500 points. And so that can be shape-shifted into 500 SPG points, which is probably more valuable based on our listeners because of the ability to book airfare as well. But it's a quick, easy win. You're just connecting. You download the app. You could toss in your account. You connect the accounts. It doesn't take much time. So
okay, next up we have a devaluation with Virgin Atlantic. They're making some changes to the program rules, and this does go into effect pretty quickly. So this is going to kick in on November 13th. And so the major things here, they've gone to revenue-based earning, which we've talked about a lot. This is what all the major U.S. airlines do. So the amount of points, the amount of redeemable miles that you're going to earn is now going to be based on the price of your ticket. They've also made some changes to earning status. I think the biggest one for folks that are accumulating miles is that they've added peak redemptions. And so it's not all Saver Awards. In other words, for their own flights, we're looking at a bunch of higher priced award tickets. Mm-hmm. And so now you've got to kind of be aware that you got to make sure you're getting the lowest possible price to really get a good value. For those who are swimming in points, that could be a good thing, get access to some of that other inventory. But generally speaking, that's not something we like to see. Adding new award level tiers that are more expensive, probably not going to ultimately help you get more value for those points. The one, I guess, plus, there's probably two pluses. First of all, they've introduced family pooling, which means that kids under 12 years old can now earn points. So if you're buying flights with Virgin Atlantic, that could definitely help out quite a bit. And you can also now book cash and points tickets. So in other words, you can not necessarily have quite enough miles for a full award ticket, and you may be able to pay partially with cash to book that.
Yeah.
So a little more flexibility there. I think overall it's pretty clear that the changes are negative. Lots of the prices went up quite a bit with the peak. But, that's the name of the game, and not really that far out of line with some of the other programs that are out there. The other program change that's definitely worth mentioning here is the changes to Hyatt. And we're not going to get into a ton of detail, but I do have a link in the show notes. Hyatt's just basically changed the name of all of their different elite statuses. They've added an additional status that wasn't there before, and they've eliminated stays from the criteria. So basically now you have to reach the full number of nights required. You're not going to be able to do this just with the stay requirement, which was a little bit easier if you happen to just do fewer one-night stays. Being able to earn elite status by stays is a little bit easier. But now you actually have to get the full number of nights to earn the status. I can't say I'm a fan of the new names that they've come up with. It makes it a little bit harder to remember. It's always easy with like silver, gold, platinum. You kind of know what order they go in. But now you are going to either be a discoverist, an explorist, or a globalist.
I'm sorry, those are just stupid names. Whoever made that decision is a moron. That just makes absolutely no sense. I'm sorry. Why would you, out of all the words in the English language, that's what you choose?
I guess.
Well, I mean, if they have a sense of humor, it's one thing, but Jesus.
So I will say I'm not a very knowledgeable in general about the Hyatt program. So, my kind of comparison here is a little bit limited, but I do think that overall the actual status hasn't changed a huge amount. Just the way that you earn the status has changed a little bit. And as I said, I believe they've introduced a new level that's sort of in the middle of what was was previously silver and gold. So something to check out. We've got a nice link that explains it way better than you and I just did. So you guys can check that out if Hyatt status is important to you, and get a look at what's changed.
Next one we've got is a new way to earn Delta Skymiles. You can now earn 1 SkyMile per dollar spent on Airbnb. So this is pretty cool because it's an opportunity where you can kind of double dip. I mean, we've actually spent a decent amount of money on Airbnb. Not a huge amount, but
3,000 Skymiles.
Yeah, exactly.
With existing stays, do you know?
I would imagine you can't. I don't know. I just don't see why you'd be able to retroactively get it. I would imagine,
Well, not even like what we've already paid, but so just for example, AJ and I have a 4-bedroom place.
Oh, I see what you're saying for next month's rent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're doing a medium-term thing with Airbnb, they only charge you the first month. And then, let's say you do a 3-month rental, then they charge you each month the next month's thing. So it'd be great if we could jump in on this and somehow toss that on our reservation because our, Airbnb is close to $1,200 a month.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So you get to double dip. You get to make your Airbnb purchase on the card that makes the most sense for you to earn the most points. Then you also get to double dip on Delta. There's also something for hosts that isn't super lucrative, but it's way better than 1-for-1. There's some bonus tiers, it looks like, as a host. So if you get $250 in hosting fees, then you get 2,500 Skymiles. So you get a 10x on the amount earned up to $1,000 or $1,500. So if you get $1,500 in hosting fees, you get 15,000 Skymiles. So it's actually pretty legit. There's a lot of people out there making between.
I'm assuming that's going to be for new hosts, though. I don't know for sure.
It is new hosts. So
okay. So maybe you create a new account, but it could be a pain. Either way, though, better than nothing. Especially if it doesn't replace the cash incentives that they're already offering. So like if and those are actually for referrals though. So
they are for referrals. Yeah, $25. And one thing that I didn't mention that should be mentioned is you have to go through this is interesting. So this is not on Delta or Airbnb's website. Together, they bought a new domain name, which is deltaairbnb.com. So you've got to go through there. It's just like a little launch pad, I think, a way to do their affiliate tracking. So you go to deltaairbnb.com and you got your different options if you want to book a place. And then it just sends you to Airbnb where there's like a referral code that gets tracked. But you got to go to deltaairbnb.com if you want to earn Delta miles through your stay. So it's super easy, but
I guess that answers my question about our Medellin stay. It looks like
so it's probably too late on that.
Able to update that.
However, in the future, this will not be the last time staying in Airbnb. Next thing we've got here is a really exciting and pretty interesting, unique credit card offer. This is kind of unlike anything we've seen. So it's through Avianca and Life Miles. It looks like they're going to give 60,000 Life Miles. I don't think they've said exactly what the spending is, but this is an interesting situation where for this credit card and the sign-up bonus, they're asking people to pre-register to have the privilege of getting this card. So we'll share the link in the show notes so you register for this promo. I would imagine that there will be a shareable link in the future, and it's going to make sense, and the banks are going to want a lot of people signing up for this card. So I don't know exactly why they're making people register for this offer, but there's some really interesting stuff on this. And the thing that I found most appealing, other than the 60,000 Life Miles, is you get 50% discounts on awards between the United States and Latin America or Colombia. So that's really, really, really lucrative when you can chop an award in half between the USA and Colombia. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. So we don't know who's going to be issuing this card for sure yet.
Yeah.
But it's probably pretty safe to say this is not going to come from Chase, Amex, or Citi, which are typically the big ones that most people have sort of maxed out or have already covered a lot of applications.
So people should be eligible for this.
Yeah, so this should be a good one. We'll see where it comes, and obviously we'll follow up with more details. But it sounds like what they are saying is that the initial sign-up bonus is going to be lower if you don't pre-register. Mm-hmm. So take a second, hop over. And I don't think we've shared show notes yet, so thanks for staying with us for a minute. We're going to put show notes at abroaders.com/downgrade.
Yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is just get over there, pre-register, and if this is something you want, at least all of your ducks in a row, and you'll be able to take advantage of this offer because it could make a lot of sense for people if you're interested in traveling between Colombia and the United States or Central America, because I misread that. It's so awards between the U.S., Central America, or Colombia. So you can go from the U.S. to Central America or Colombia at 50% with this card, which is pretty slick. And I wonder if that's like a lounge pass, like the United card, where you get like 2, or if that's a benefit, you get two discounts a year. I don't know. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, so more details to follow, and we'll certainly follow up when this offer is live. At the moment, nothing else to do besides get registered to get the increased sign-up bonus. Okay, next up, we've got a couple of ways to earn miles outside of credit cards. The first one is a targeted promo for buying Starwood Preferred Guest Points, and I would say this is only valuable if you happen to be targeted for the 50%, but it's super easy to check. I took a look at mine, and I got a targeted for a 25% bonus. We think that the tiers are like you either get 25, 35, or 50.
Yeah.
If you get 50, that can potentially be a very good deal.
I think that brings it down to 1.7 cents per point, which is a really good deal considering their value.
Yeah. So if you've got the 50%, I wouldn't buy a huge number of star points, but I think there's actually a limit annually on how many you can purchase. And this might be worth taking advantage of if you expect to have travel coming up with any of their transfer partners, or even for stays at nice Starwood properties. I think you could get a pretty decent discount. So check it out, and you'll find out whether you're targeted. It's super easy through points.com. So it will not post as a transaction with a travel merchant. So that's just one of the small drawbacks. You won't earn double points on the actual cash cost that you pay for those. But give it a quick look if you're interested in topping up your Starwood account.
Yeah. Next one we got here is for the next week and a half. So through November 20th, there's some shopping portal action. You're going to get some bonus points if you shop through American, United, or Alaska's portal. It depends on how much you spend on the tiered bonuses. For example, with American, you spend $150, you get 500 points. You spend $750, you get 2,500 points. And if you spend $1,500 or more, you get 5,000 miles. It's pretty similar for Alaska and United. So I guess the words of wisdom here would be, if you're going to buy these things already and the price is comparable, go for it. But don't be overly loyal to the portal just to get these bonus points if they're going to be, much more expensive than buying on Amazon.com. And I'd say actually that's probably a pretty simple way to do it. Check out the price on the portal. Check Amazon.com. If it's the same, you can probably trust the portal because Amazon almost always wins on price. So I don't know, that'd be how I'd do it if I was going to be doing a lot of Christmas shopping.
Yeah, I think, not an amazing, huge win, but if you're buying it anyways, why not take 30 seconds and see? Okay, so last up, we want to bring a little lack of sanity to the travel world, or at least make you aware of things to keep your eye out for. And this one absolutely blew me away. So just recently, a video came out from, I believe, back in 2015 was the incident. But a guy at the New Orleans airport brought a can of basically like wasp spray and a machete and started spraying people with the wasp spray at the TSA checkpoint, and then started swinging the machete at people.
Yeah.
And there's a video. And so that's really the only reason we brought this up. If you're needing some time away from work for a minute, we're going to post a link to the video. Pretty crazy, man. I don't even know what to say. That doesn't seem like that happens in America.
No, that's pretty. It's an odd thing. And I'm surprised we didn't catch that in the news. I'm curious if anyone else heard about that at the time. I mean, they didn't release a video. There's a reason, whether they just don't want that type of press or because there's a court case. But the guy was killed. They ended up having to put the guy down because he was trying to kill people. So it wasn't. I don't know. But the video just came out. It's crazy, and that's actually not the only crazy thing that's been released recently. Actually, this has been all over Facebook. A lot of you guys have probably seen this. The real-life snakes on a plane. On an Aeromexico flight to Mexico City, from the overhead bin, there was, I believe, a venomous green viper that came. It was a 5-foot snake.
Holy shit.
It was not
what I pictured when I thought about it.
It was not a small snake. One of the articles I read said it was 5 feet. I couldn't confirm it myself, but I did see a video of it. Somebody posted on Twitter that was sitting about a row behind where it was poking out from the overhead cabin. So obviously people were a little bit panicked about that, especially considering from all the reports I've seen, it's a venomous snake. And I don't know if they have anti-venom on airplanes. So the word got to the cockpit, and the captain said, "Hey guys, we got a snake on the plane. Can you give us clearance?" They got priority clearance, so they got to go directly in, land, and then I read that animal control handled the situation. But seeing the snake, like somebody could have reached up and touched. I mean, I'm really curious to like see how it unfolds. If I was sitting underneath, I'd get the hell out of there. I mean,
there's not that much room. Where do you go?
I'll stand for the landing. I don't care what the flight attendant says. She can fight me. She can try to take me out.
I know snakes aren't your thing.
No, I hate snakes. I would rather risk a bumpy landing standing up than have that damn thing. Man, that'd be the worst way to go. So that's pretty much it for the news and updates, but we've got one final piece of news that is not exactly award travel related as far as helping you. This is about helping other people, and this is a really cool thing that we're excited to be a part of, and it is a promotion called Home for the Holidays that was started by Peter Shankman, a New York-based PR guy.
Author, entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He's a civilian advisor to NASA.
I'm sure he's the guy. First of all, you've probably seen him. If you watch network news, he's often called in to talk and give analysis of when companies mess up and public relations stuff on CNN and MSNBC and so forth. Peter is a friend of ours, and he was at the Dynamite Circle conference in Bangkok, which AJ and I attended last year. Mm-hmm. And he told me about this promotion that he had done a couple years in a row, this charity event, to help people that couldn't afford flights home for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And so Peter's in this kind of unique situation that all of us would love to be in, where he's got more miles than he knows what to do with because he flies all the time for work. And so he decided one year, just out of being a nice guy, to just give away as many points as he could to help people get home for the holidays. And just to give you an idea, the kind of impact, there's a video I want to link to in the show notes here of a couple that literally hadn't spent Christmas together in 3 years. And it was just like he was armed forces. He was serving on active duty for some of the time. And so anyways, the bottom line is that we have an opportunity to help a bunch of people get home for the holidays. And Abroaders is going to be donating a bunch of time to book all the flights. And we're also going to be...
Just a step back to give everyone an idea. So this is just a mass calling for people to donate miles. So Peter's going to work his network. Award Wallet's going to publish something, get their users. So we're collecting miles that people are willing to donate, and then Broaders, we're going to chip in and we're going to donate our own time to book these flights with the miles that people donated for the people less fortunate that can't afford to fly home.
Yep. And so it should be very, very easy. If you happen to have at least 12,500 miles that you can do without for the holiday season, that is what we're looking for, the minimum donation that's enough for a one-way flight, and we're going to combine those donations. So we're looking generally for points with the major frequent flyer programs, so American, Delta, United, and all of the transferable currencies. Mm-hmm. And the key thing is just the way this is going to work. All you got to do is let us know. We've got a really simple form for you to just sign up and give us your contact information, and then we're going to follow up with you. And based on how many points we can raise. So by the way, we are doing everything we can to raise miles with our community. However, the Abroaders community is still pretty small, and we're super excited because Award Wallet, that currently has about 500,000 users, has also offered to help us raise donations for points.
Yeah, and actually another company that's involved is Imager is actually going to select the winners or the people that are the most worthy or whatever. We aren't the ones that actually get to pick who gets the flights.
We're not going to choose. We're just going to book the flights for the winners. But the one thing that is important is if you know somebody that's in need of this, the page to sign up to win a trip home for the holidays is not ready yet. But there will be an entry process, and we will definitely follow up with more information. But right now, our focus, we want to get as many points donations as possible so that we can turn this from 5 trips to 10 trips to 50 trips. Mm-hmm. And I'm really confident, actually, that we're going to get big-time donations for this promotion. 12,500 points is not a huge amount for most folks. I know that I've got enough to easily be able to donate 12,500 of my points. And so anyways, if you happen to have some extra points, we would be tremendously grateful to have you contribute to the Home for the Holidays.
Yeah.
You're going to make a big impact on
and
somebody's holiday.
If you are interested in being a part of this, all you need to do is go to abroaders.com/give. And like Erik mentioned, there will be a pretty simple form where you get to pick the type of points you're willing to donate, how many of them you're willing to donate, and then we'll have a quick follow-up with you to make sure that we have your blessing to use your points, and then that's all you really need to do, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for being a part of that. And next up, I want to dive into some information about downgrading those cards, making sure you avoid those annual fees. Okay, so downgrading and upgrading cards, and this is often also referred to as a product change. And so there's a couple of different benefits here that I want to go over that in some cases it may make a lot of sense to do this depending on what your goals are. It's possible to potentially avoid applying for a new card or just get more of the benefits that you want and avoid some of the fees that you don't want. First of all, I want to talk just kind of about how banks think about their credit cards as products. And so there's a really important distinction that basically every card that has its own unique name is considered to be its own product by the bank. So for example, the Chase Freedom card is actually totally different in Chase's mind than the Chase Freedom Unlimited card, even though they have very similar names. And generally speaking, you can get a sign-up bonus for each card product that a bank offers. And most banks allow you to do one bonus per lifetime per product. So in other words, it's possible to sign up for a new Chase Freedom card, get a sign-up bonus, and then maybe a year later sign up for the Chase Freedom Unlimited card and also get a bonus on that. Now, there are exceptions to the one bonus per lifetime rule. Some banks will let you get a bonus a second time if it's been more than 2 years, say, since you last got a bonus on that card. So I think the natural question here is, why wouldn't I always want to sign up for a new card and get the bonus? And the answer to that question is that the banks are progressively creating more restrictive sign-up rules because they don't want to acquire customers who are constantly opening new cards just to earn sign-up bonuses. The goal for the bank is to acquire you as a long-term customer who's going to use that card for ongoing purchases. That's how the banks make money. And so I want to explain real quick an example of that rule, which we talk about quite a bit, which is the Chase 524 rule. And basically what it means is that Chase will not approve you for most of their credit card products if you've opened 5 or more new credit card accounts in the last 2 years. And so it's 24 months is the time frame, and they're looking for 5 accounts open. And if you have 5 or more new accounts with any bank, so it doesn't have to be just with Chase, they will automatically deny your application. And so one of the reasons that we're going to talk about that you may consider a product change rather than a new application is just to avoid having another tally on that sheet of the number of new cards that you've opened. So maybe you're waiting on a great bonus from Chase and you've only got one card that you can apply for until you're over that 524 rule. So that's a really good reason why you might want to consider a product change. So first of all, let's talk about product upgrades. So this is generally speaking going to be moving from a card that you have to a card that generally has a higher annual fee and may have more benefits that are available to you. And so a really good example of this is that American Express often offers an upgrade from their Business Gold card to their Business Platinum card. Business Gold card has a $175 annual fee and a bunch of good benefits. Business Platinum card has a $450 annual fee and even better benefits. So one of the reasons that you may consider upgrading is that you just really want the benefits of the new product. And we've talked recently about some of the new benefits that came out with the Amex Business Platinum. So it's a good example because now that you can get a 50% rebate on membership rewards redeemed for paid flights, you may have kind of changed your approach to how valuable that card is, and it could be worth upgrading and doing a product change rather than opening up a new card. Now, the downside with the product change is that generally you don't get a new sign-up bonus. So if I converted my Business Gold rewards card with Amex into a Business Platinum card, I'm generally not going to get the sign-up bonus, which at the moment I'm recording this is 100,000 points. So that's a big consideration there. However, it is true also that sometimes you'll see promotional bonuses that are not sign-up bonuses, but rather are product change bonuses. And so right now, Amex is targeting people that have the Business Gold card and offering them 50,000 membership rewards points to upgrade to the Business Platinum card. So that's something to keep in mind when you're considering upgrading to get extra benefits. You're not ready to open a new card. You may take a look and see if there's potentially an upgrade bonus in terms of miles or some other benefit the bank's willing to give you. Now, the second thing, and I think this is a lot more common, is to downgrade. And the reason it's more common is that generally the
cards that have higher annual fees and better benefits also have great sign-up bonuses. And so it often makes sense to start with the higher level card. And a lot of times those annual fees are even waived for the first year. And so you can get a bunch of those awesome benefits without actually having to pay the fee, or maybe just only having to pay the fee once. And then at the end of the year, you may consider changing to a no-fee card or downgrading to a card that has a lower annual fee. And I think the natural question here is, why not just close the card and open a new one? And the reason that you don't want to close an existing account is that there are two credit factors that are negatively affected when you close an existing account. The first one is your credit utilization, which makes up 30% of your FICO score. So it's pretty important. And it basically just means how you are using the credit that you already have available to you. So if you have $10,000 in available credit and you use $1,000 of that credit line, your utilization is 10%. And the banks keep an eye on that utilization as a sign of risk. If you're maxing out all of your cards, you're a little bit more risky, and generally your credit score will go down. Banks like to see utilization under 30%. The second reason that you wouldn't want to close an account is that 15% of your credit score is the average age of all of the credit card accounts that you have. And so by closing an account, you're essentially cutting off the age of that account. So let's say you close an account that's 3 years old. It's never going to get any older. So it stays on your credit report and you still have one account that's 3 years old. But by closing the account, you're cutting that time frame off, and it's going to hurt your average eventually. And so the benefit of downgrading to a card that has either no annual fee or a more palatable, more acceptable annual fee is that you get to keep both the credit line that's associated with that card, that $10,000 line of credit, which helps your utilization, and also you get to keep the account open. And so that's going to help the average age of all of your credit card accounts together. So both of those factors help your score and are good reasons to consider a downgrade instead of closing an account. So I want to take you guys through a quick example of my own scenario here. Right now, I just recently opened the Sapphire Reserve card, which I'm super excited about. It has an annual fee of $450, but you get a $300 travel credit each year. And that's based on the calendar year, which means that I get $300 in 2016 and $300 in 2017 towards travel. And for those of you doing the math, that's $600 for only paying a $450 annual fee. So it's a no-brainer for the first year if you can get that card. However, I also have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, which has a $95 annual fee. And so what I think I'm probably going to do is when the Sapphire Reserve card comes up for renewal, one of the options I have at my disposal is to ask to downgrade to the Sapphire Preferred card. And there's kind of an interesting question here. Since I already said that I already have the Sapphire Preferred card, it's a different question with each bank whether they'll let you have more than one version of the same card. So it's possible that it may be as simple as calling Chase when my $450 annual fee posts in August of 2017 to call them up and say, hey, I just don't think I can pay this annual fee. Is it possible to downgrade my card to the Sapphire Preferred? And they might say, yes, no problem. But they might say, well, you already have a Sapphire Preferred card. And so in that case, I could also ask to downgrade the Sapphire Preferred to the Chase Freedom card, which is another card that earns ultimate rewards and has no fee. So essentially, as it stands now, if I didn't do anything, my total annual fees would be $450 for the Reserve card and $95 for the Preferred card, which comes out to $545 in annual fees. And if I successfully did both of those downgrades, I would only have $95 of annual fees for the Sapphire Preferred, since the other card would become a Freedom card. So that's a really good way to potentially avoid those annual fees and not have to worry about hurting your credit score by closing those accounts. Now, there is one other thing to mention here, and that is that not all products offered by a particular bank are going to be available for conversion. And one of the best examples there is that often the co-branded cards, so for example, the Chase United Explorer card that earns United miles, it may not be possible to convert that into a card that earns Chase points, just because the type of currency that's earned is different. They've got this totally separate agreement with United Airlines that's tied to the United Explorer card. So don't be surprised if you do run into a more limited set of options. It's not necessarily true that regardless of what card you have, you can always just pick any no fee or any other product offered by the bank. But generally speaking, you are going to have some options. And the best time to do these downgrades is when your annual fee posts to your account, because that's the point when the bank knows that they're at risk of potentially losing you as a customer. And a lot of times they're going to be willing to offer a downgrade to make sure that they keep one of their credit cards in your wallet. Last but not least, it is also true that there are some credit cards that are just no longer available to sign up for. And so this is potentially an example with cards that are being phased out. At the moment, there's a lot of talk about the Chase Ink Plus card being phased out. And once the Ink Business Preferred card is available for new signups, they won't let people sign up for the Chase Ink Plus anymore. And so when you have a situation like that where there's a card that's no longer available to new applicants, one of the ways that you can still get the card and the benefits that come with it may be to do one of these product changes. Hopefully that's helpful. Let us know if you guys have any questions, or would also love to hear any listener success stories about product changes, how the call went, and what type of product you were offered, and why you ended up making the decision you did. Thanks a lot, and send any feedback to Erik@abroaders.com.
Hey, Broaders, don't be shy. Hop over to the website and join our email list for exclusive travel hacking content. If you like what we're up to, the best way you can support the show is by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so send your show feedback to